In this video, I'm going to reveal to you the new, simple, and predictable sales methodology that we're using to close deals at over 40% consistently, even in a tough, saturated market with tons of competition with premium price solutions. So this is pulled right from our CRM right here. In March, we closed at 71%, in February, 33%, in January, 100%, in December, 78%, 40% in November, and 6% in October. But when you average it out, that's a 54.7% closing rate over the last 6 months, with over a 97.7% show-up rate, as you can see right here. This is based on discovery to close, not proposal to close, which leads to falsely inflated closing ratios, as you're still spending time upfront with those prospects in earlier stages of the process. We utilize a methodology called the powerful system, and it's night and day different than any other method you're familiar with because of how it's able to systematically and ethically take a completely cold prospect to close as fast as possible without feeling sleazy for deals that are 5K ARR up to 5 million ARR. This would lead to higher closing rates, higher show-up rates, more revenue closed for larger deal sizes, and being seen as a trusted advisor in the eyes of your customer, not just another salesperson. You'll actually do less work and close far more. This is how we're able to close at 54.7% with a 97.7% show-up rate over the last 6 months, because it's a methodology that applies to your entire sales process. This is also why we're able to close deals on average in 28.27 days from the very first meeting, all right? And this is pulled right from my CRM right here. We track all the data. And this even includes that one deal that took over 6 months in January that really skewed our number, right? So if we actually back this anomaly out, that single deal, it's a 16.4-day sales cycle for deals under 100K. That's only first meeting to close for deals under 100K ARR. And the best part is you don't have to change it drastically depending on the company that you work for or the offer you sell. I use the same methodology to take my own business from 0 to over 600 clients for my coaching and training offers in 4.5 years. But even before this, I use the same system to generate over 700 million in total contract value closed. That's literally 140 million ARR in 13 years. This is before I started my business. If you don't know who I am, my name is Marcus Shank. You see me right here, see on the screen. And I'm a sales coach. I'm the sales coach who has coached and trained reps and teams from some of the largest companies out there. We worked with over 600 clients, some for companies like Salesforce, Google, Zoom, Auth0, HubSpot, Gartner, Dropbox, Paychex, Dell, Microsoft, and more. But even down to startups that literally have zero brand name recognition, that are barely doing $1 million ARR. I've helped them install a sales playbook from cold to close so they can blow out their sales targets, max out their comp plan, and create the life of their dreams with financial freedom. Now, before I even started my business, I started in the field as a B2B rep right before the recession hit in 2007. Fortunately, I eventually figured out this methodology, and it allowed me to hit and exceed my quota 100, 250%, 13 years in a row. I won every single award possible at President's Club consistently every single year. I actually earned 12 promotions in 8 years. This is for 2 Fortune 500 companies. I closed over 700 million and ran a sales org over 100 plus employees. You can see here, this is different. Me, annual salesman, a bunch of other President's Club award winners here on the State of President's Club. You can see me giving keynote speeches. I'm riding corporate jets and hanging on big teams. But here's the truth. We've entered into a trust crisis. And according to Force's research, salespeople from vendors are the least trusted group, followed by social media influencers and national media. Literally, people are trusting that TikTok influencer over salespeople or the news. So, of course, skepticism is higher than ever. Buyers are coming into conversations with far more education than ever been before, and it's more competitive than it's ever been. So the hard selling, the persuasion tactics, the fancy one-line closing tactics, the 39 different ways to handle objections, the memorized objection rebuttals, the mirroring, the fake scarcity, the end of month, the end of quarter, the end of your discounts, they don't really work anymore, okay? And how do I know? I tried them all on my journey, and frankly, it's never felt authentic to me and really felt really quite gross. And I know for sure my prospects felt it too. But here's the biggest reason these tactics don't actually work. They break trust with your prospect. It's simple as that. And the other methodologies I've definitely tested and tried out myself, I found to be far too linear and to focus on the rep's company and not on the prospect and their problems, which leads to less trust to begin with. So this leads to, of course, high no-show rates, low win rates, long sales cycle, constantly getting ghosted, and millions in lost deals. This is what I call the old way of selling. This is pulled right from Gong. This is a very prototypical process from prospect buyers. You contact the prospects, you qualify them, you pitch the solution, you overcome objections, you close the sale, you follow up. That is the old way. But think about the last time you yourself invested in something major, whether it's personal or even for the business. Was it that linear of a process? I can guarantee you it was not. It's probably more like this. This is pulled right from Gartner, right? The core we think is the same, but there's so many components to how you ultimately make a decision. And obviously, the larger investment, the more complex it is, the more potential threads off the main process it becomes. Your sales process must offer a flexible methodology that incorporates this and cannot be rigid like some sort of memorized script. That's why I designed a process after running over 10,000 sales calls personally that takes someone that's completely cold to close as fast as ethically possible, that allows the flexibility based on the complexity of the prospect and the deal. And the solution, by the way, is not just some sort of memorized sales script for your discovery demo calls that you can read off, give your team to read off. The solution is the powerful selling system. It's a new, simple, and predictable selling system that thrives in a trust crisis using Socratic-based questions that gets the prospect to sell themselves and leads to a virtually objectionless close, while being easy enough that a rookie or a technical founder with zero sales experience can implement quickly. Since implementing for my business, we've been consistently closing at over 40% with 9% plus show rates and bringing on over 600 plus clients. The powerful methodology gives a better buying experience for your prospects, so they're literally begging for your solution and thanking you for selling them. It positions you as a trusted advisor as you're actually having a business conversation versus the prototypical rep who's acting just like an order taker. But here's the best part. The prospects, they don't even feel sold because all you do is just serve them by using this very simple methodology. So let's actually walk through exactly how it works. First off, here's the old way, which you're probably familiar with if you've been in sales for even a short amount of time or you've been selling anything for any short amount of time. So for example here, you can have your discovery, you do a little bit of discovery up front, and then you spend a lot of time on the demo, a lot of time on the proposal, and then the next rest of the process, you're handling objection. You're trying to multi-thread. You're trying to bring in other people. You follow-up calls. This kind of all blends together, and it's really unknown the result. Maybe you'll close it. Maybe you'll not. Maybe it'll stall out. Maybe go to a competitor. Unknown. And I find to make it overly simplified, this is how the process really simplifies down, which is you spend a very small amount of time actually focused on a process, maybe 10% or so. And the majority of the time of the process, as you can see, the red section aligns together, is you're focused on either pitching, pushing, and you really focus on your product. You're trying to overcome objections, get them closed, which is like the other 90%. Obviously, with some salespeople, maybe it's like 20-80, but for the most part, this is pretty consistent across the board. But here's the issue I found is oftentimes when you run this process, whether you realize it or not, which most people don't realize they are doing this, you're stuck in like price battles. It's an attempt to actually earn the business, which by the way, price battles is just like a race to the bottom, right? You're stuck in a perpetual follow-up cycle because the prospect's not convinced and things either stay in status quo for them or they choose competitor. Even if your solution's better, right? So they're always like, hey, let me see a little more of this, let me see a little more of that. Hey, we're still thinking about it, we're still talking internally. Or sometimes you just don't even hear from them, they just start ghosting you. So you spend like majority of your time, like 90% of your time, chasing and following up. Oftentimes literally reeking of desperation and having what I call commission breath or revenue breath, all right? So as a result of a low win rate, you have to play the numbers game, which is like, oh, I better make more calls. Let me try to book more discovery calls. Let me try to do more outbound, which obviously can lead to burnout over time. Let me show you the new and better way. We're going to flip the script. So instead of that process, we're going to flip it literally upside down. We'll spend majority of the time, 9% of the time, to really focus on the prospect and their problems. And a very small percentage, I will call it 10%, actually showing your solution, talking about your company and what it does. And you can see here the flip here now on this side is we'll spend that time of discovery. And yes, we might run the parts of the process like the demo, proposal, closing, follow-up, but we're actually going to embed discovery multi-threading through the whole process utilizing the powerful methodology. And here's how it really works. So we flip the broker process upside down. It's a flexible sales process that allows you to systematically use Socratic-based questions that naturally leads to the prospect selling themselves even before you do the demo, present your solution. So it's 100% customer-centric, and it's focused on solving business problems, which at the end of the day, that's what sales is really about, in which if you solve a big enough problem, companies will happily pay you to solve their problems. This is what leads to higher win rates, increased deal size because they trust you more, faster sales because again, they trust you, more revenue, more profitability, happier reps, happier teams, happier companies. So let's actually walk through the exact framework. So again, you can see the powerful framework is embedded through the whole process. And the first piece to understand is we're going to apply this to all the decision makers. According to HubSpot, there's on average at least 5 decision makers for every buying process today. And I've been in situations where we've had 7, 8, 9, 10, over a dozen people as part of the process actually move it forward. And sometimes it's not just for big deals, sometimes even small deals too. But we're going to do it for every single decision maker, right? And ultimately, there's going to be 8 things we're going to uncover as part of the process. And as you probably have gathered, the powerful stands for specific things that we want to uncover and build and create as part of the process. So for example, the first P is pain. So we want to uncover what their big problem is, all right? And there's a big difference between a $10,000 problem versus a $1 million problem. So we want to cover what are the biggest problems for that business. Then we want to cover the opportunity cost or cost of inaction. So for example, if the problem doesn't get fixed, what's the cost of inaction or the opportunity costs? All right. So this is important to understand. So this might be a direct cost of inaction, or it could be huge opportunity costs, or maybe if they don't do something, they lose it on far more opportunity, which obviously impacts the business. Then we want the W, we want the wants, needs, and desires. So these are desired outcomes from solving the problem or problems. This should be big goals, initiatives for the business, and these should be at a micro and macro level, again, for every single decision maker in the process. Then there's E, the executive level influence. We want to uncover the actual decision-making power and process, the who, the what, the how, the when, all the details to actually make a buying decision. And here's a hint. Most companies don't really have an idea, so it's part of your process, helps guide them to actually make a best buying decision. Then we have R, resources, which are access to funds, not just budget, but actually access to funds to actually solve the problem, and also potentially internal capacity constraints as well to actually implement whatever you are selling. And then there's fear of failure. So this is some sort of, we want to cover, do they have doubt, uncertainty regarding the existing situation or vendor? This is very important. Otherwise, deals will lead to a stall. But then there's U, unequivocal trust. Have we built this out as unequivocal trust between for your company, your product or service, the solution, and also even you? Then there's L, what I call the little stuff. And this is the stuff that most salespeople are actually pretty good on getting. These are maybe the specifications of what that person even needs. So if you sell a really technical product, they're figuring out how many users, how many licenses, or specific things about what they need to know from the engineering perspective. So again, these are also potentially decision criteria, but generally speaking, usually they're more low level, but they are required elements at the very minimum. And here's the thing, even with the simplicity of the powerful framework of uncovering all 8 of these things, there's a scale of 1 to 10 of how effective you are actually gathering that intel as part of the process. So there's level 1 to level 10. So obviously you want to be at level 10, but not just for a single champion or one stakeholder. You want to be at level 10 for every component of this for every single decision maker. Because the reality is, if you think about it, if you're selling to, say, maybe an engineering team, they're going to have very different pains and problems versus what the CFO, what the CEO is actually focused on for the overall business. And obviously, the more complex the organization, the bigger it is, you'll see far more separation. In reality, each of them are going to have different belief systems about how they follow each part of the process. And then this gets a little more advanced, but then of course, there's different applications for lead with pain, lead with the gain. And then there's sub frameworks within the methodology, such as what I call the RIM framework of uncovering the relevance and impact of the motive. Now, that's high level, but as we continue this video, I want you to think about this. Think about the most common objections you get that stall deals for you or ultimately cause you to lose the deal. For example, common ones are, hey, it's too expensive, okay? Or it's not in the budget, it's not a priority. The X decision maker shot it down. You need to think about it, talk about it internally, etc. These are very common objections for anything that anyone sells across the board. Here's the thing. If you are uncovering these at level 10 up front, you are actually identify and eliminate the objections proactively. So, for example, if they say, "Hey, what you sell is a little too expensive," or "It's not really in the budget," all right. So that tells us potentially that you did not uncover a deep enough pain to solve the problem. So, for example, if you sell $1 million solution, but the pain you uncover seems to only to be $250,000, are they going to be willing to pay $1 million to solve that problem? Probably not. Or even if it's $1 million problem and your solution costs $1 million, are they really going to pay to solve that? Versus if you uncovered that the solution or the problem is a $100 million problem and your solution is $1 million, now it's far easier to justify that, whether that's from the pain or to the opportunity cost or cost of inaction, all right? Because reality is, even in the budget perspective, if they say they don't have quote unquote budget, the reality is if they believe the problem is big enough, it's going to cost them far more in the future, or doesn't align to their key, or it's going to definitely impact their key objectives, they will find the money to make it happen. That's just a reality, okay? Same thing with even priority, right? If you're not able to tie directly to the key priorities, of course, it's going to get shot down. But if you uncover these key things, you uncover their wants, needs, desires, what the core initiatives are, you'll be able to bridge the gap of showing why your solution directly impacts their future as a company. Or X decision maker shot down. Again, if we had done an excellent job with uncovering the executive level influence, the process, the who, the how, the what, etc., we're able to execute the process effectively up front to guide the deal to increase our win rate across the board, right? You need to think about talk about internal, same thing. Again, you're more likely missing one of these things. The reality is for majority of objections, 99.99% of the time with objections, we can actually uncover things up front that gives us the ammunition to be able to deal with the objection if it happens to show up on the back end. So that's why this is super powerful when you execute this effectively, this process methodology, even though it's simple, not necessarily easy, but when you execute it, it's systematically eliminating the objections proactively. So this is actually what helps you create what I call SPO alignment, which leads to faster closes for increased amounts. Now, if you're not familiar with SPO alignment, let me show you exactly what that is. This is the power of SPO alignment. For the majority of people here, you might have an amazing solution. We'll call it the best solution in the world, maybe a world-class product, right? You're able to show how it solves a lower level process of pain or problems and achieves desired outcomes. That person you're talking to, that lower level person, oh, amazing, we love it, so it's totally going to help me achieve XYZ objective, whatever it's going to be. Like maybe you sell a customer ticketing software, so you're talking to the CS team, oh my God, this is amazing, it's going to make our lives so much easier. Yeah, it's great, okay? But here's the reality. That solving a low level problem, majority of times going to lead to stalled deals, goes to close loss, right? Because ultimately, majority of the time, that type of situation, you're considered, I hate to say it, you're considered an order taker, just taking an order. But, oh yeah, we can do this, we can do that. That sounds good. And you're hoping they're going to buy. And it's a crapshoot. It may or may not work. Versus the trusted advisors do this, which is they have their awesome solution, but they're able to not just uncover and solve the low-level process pain or problems and their desired outcomes, they're also able to directly align it to the objectives. So that's the business or executive impact and key objectives, which is done by uncovering and validating throughout the whole sales process, multiplying all the stakeholders, directly aligned through the org, and building a clear business case with your champion, if you have a champion, using the powerful framework. And because you have this S solution, problem, pain, and objectives alignment that goes all the way through, your win rate goes up as a result. Versus on the flip side, when you are not able to get to this point, this is when you get objections like, this is no longer a priority. We need to think about this. I need to get approval from my boss to get this done. Oh, my boss shot this down. They say it's not within the budget. That's where you get these problems because you're not able to fully implement the whole process here to be able to build that case to have a clear alignment across the board. So from a very high level perspective, the powerful methodology gives you the flexibility in your sales process because it falls in the perfect intersection of three things, which is psychology, strategy, and tactics. Now, here's the thing. Most methodologies I've seen, they're purely focused on tactics, which ultimately get outdated over time. They're too high level to actually be applicable. So you want that perfect centerpiece right in this middle to balance that. You want something that falls right in the middle that's a perfect blend of psychology, strategy, and tactics to actually be highly effective, timeless as well. By now, you should understand why the powerful methodology is so effective and powerful in taking a completely cold prospect and systematically building trust that leads to higher win rates, increased deal sizes, faster sales cycles, increased revenue, and increased profitability. And that's why today, for the first time, we are offering to build it out and install the powerful sales methodology into your business. And if you already heard enough and you want to take advantage of this unique and special opportunity, I highly recommend you book a call below this week with my team now. We're looking for a beta group of founders, sales leaders, and B2B sales professionals who want to work with us one-on-one to build the powerful framework into their sales process in the next few weeks. This is not for everyone. You must be selling a product or service that is at minimum at least 5K ARR. This has already been validated by over 140 million ARR sold by my teams and I, and also a few clients. So we want to test out the larger market. So you have zero risk by simply booking a call with my team to discuss about potentially installing the powerful methodology into your sales process. Now, for those who still need more information, allow me to explain why I believe the powerful methodology is the most effective sales process for B2B salespeople to close at over 40% consistent and ethically. Number one, it transforms B2B salespeople into trusted advisors and positions them as a category of one. Now, I want you to check out some of these buyer stats. 50 to 90% of the journey is complete before a buyer interacts with a sales rep. This is from Spodio. Now, according to Gartner, B2B buyers are 57 to 7% through the buying research before even contacting sales. And 62% of B2B buyers say a web search was one of the first 3 resources they used to learn about a solution. And 77% of B2B purchasers say they will not even speak to a salesperson until they've done their own research. And 47% of buyers view 3 to 5 pieces of a company's content before talking with a sales rep. I mean, you have these buyers walking and doing plenty of research before they even have a conversation with a salesperson. Now, here's some other interesting stats. 82% of B2B decision makers think sales reps are unprepared. That's wild. That's a lot. That's a high percentage. And 58% of buyers report sales reps are unable to answer their questions effectively. Now, what does this actually all mean? This is what it means. It means trust is an all-time low, and it's why buyers spend so much more time on research up front. And once they get on a call with a salesperson, they are expecting that person to talk like a pro. And once they get on a call with a salesperson, they're expecting to talk with a professional, someone who understands their business, someone they can trust and who can advise them to make the best purchasing decision for their business. So if you and your team do not have a proper sales methodology in place, then each sales call is basically a gamble. It's a crapshoot. And ultimately, you're going to have to rely on discounting or price to close, which obviously is unsustainable in the long run. But if you build a sales process that is customer-centric and business-focused, which is exactly what the powerful methodology is the absolute best at doing, you and your sales team are positioning yourselves or themselves as a trusted advisor, the expert, and ultimately a category of one, even in a competitive and saturated market. This allows you or them to close deals for faster and for larger amounts. It's how you build trust consistently and effectively. I want you to think about this even in your own personal life. Think about this even in your own life. Who are you most willing to trust and buy from? Perhaps it's your doctor who's positioned as a trusted advisor for your health. Or maybe it's your financial advisor or CPA who's positioned as a trusted advisor for your money. And when you think about these markets, even a doctor or a CPA or financial advisor, they're super saturated. There's really thousands of those people out there. There's nothing really special about the service or products they offer, but yet you trust them. I want you to think about this on a grander scale, even for organizations. So think about big consulting firms. So McKinsey, Deloitte, Accenture, etc. They are positioned as a trusted advisor for companies. So they can literally charge millions of dollars a year. Even if they have these quote unquote consultants, right, on site, they're literally like fresh college grads who have zero experience. Here's an example of a McKinsey proposal I grabbed. They have 3 different proposals here, or 3 different offers, if you will. One's for 1.5 million, one's for 1.8 million, one's for 2 million. If they get all of it, it's a 5.4 million deal to hire these trusted advisors. Now, here's the thing. These companies did build a brand to be seen as trusted advisors for being around for decades. Now, most of us don't have that level of luxury, so that's why the sales process is so vital for building trust. That very first call is the first experience your prospect has with the company. So within seconds, they're going to determine very quickly whether this person they're talking to is someone of value to them or not. Whether they trust them or not to actually get advice from or to get advised by them. So if they're shooting from the hip or using some sort of like a substandard sales methodology, trust goes down, which obviously means your win rate goes down, and so does revenue and profits. So you must remember, trusted advisors are created through the sales methodology that they actually run consistently. Trust is a new oil in the world of skepticism, and the powerful sales methodology is your new oil rig. Next, you no longer need to use sleazy tactics to close and create urgency. Now, I used to try a lot of different tactics to close, okay? So I'd use things like the Benjamin Franklin close, the doorknob close, looping, time discounts, even high pressure. I'm not happy to say, but I did it, right? I did all these things. Sometimes it'll work. Most times it really didn't, okay? But on top of that, all of them made me feel really gross, and I'll sell myself. I didn't want to tell people I was in sales because that's how I felt. I felt gross about doing it. So then I committed to creating a sales methodology that positioned me as a leader and not just another salesperson that also would systematically close at a higher rate. I wanted to be sustainable, repeatable, and also ethical, really important to me. That's what started the journey of even creating the powerful framework. So as a result, I now have 100% confidence in every single sales call we run that we are selling the right way, which is best for our customers. Next, you are far more profitable. So it's really common to see companies and reps who are closing at less than 40%, 30%, less than that, right? They focus on pulling one single lever to drive sales, which is activity, okay? And this is a huge mistake, and let me explain why. So let's just say, for example, you run 100 discovery calls a year, and let's just say you have a 25% close rate, so decent, not terrible, not great. What that would mean is you would close 25 deals for the year. Now, let's just say, for example, if your average contract value is $50,000. Obviously, yours might be higher, might be lower, but it's an example here. So if it was $50K, that means you would close $1.25 million close for the year. Now, what's really important to understand is that a number called revenue per call, because at the end of the day, even if you didn't close those other 75 calls, or prospects, you're still taking time to have that conversation with them. You have follow-ups, you're doing all these things as well. So if I take that 1.25 million, divide by 100 discovery call to 100 prospects you had conversations with, that's 12,500 revenue per call. That's the number you have right there. Now, what if you utilize a far more effective method? Obviously, hint, the powerful methodology framework we discussed so far. Let's say, for example, you get yourself to 40% closing ratio, right? Which means you close 40 deals for the year. Same ACV, we'll keep it simple. That means you'll close $2 million for the year. So that $2 million divided by 100 discovery calls, that means your revenue has now increased to $20,000 per call. That's $20K in revenue per call. That's a 160% increase. That means you are far more effective and efficient in your process. And because you are effective and trusted, what also happens too is your sales cycle cuts down between 25-50%, is what we've seen for a lot of our clients. You run far less follow-up calls, which gives you more time back on the calendar. Your deal size actually increase because you sell better packages, solve bigger problems. And even if you didn't see some of these other changes and only revenue increase by itself, you're generating more profit as a CEO or sales leader. So for example, if you're earning 10% profit per deal after said and done, which obviously yours might be higher or lower, 200K profit on 2 million sold is far better than 125K profit on 1.25 million sold. Also, turnover goes down because reps are happy, earning, and learning. And we all know turnover is definitely a profit and growth killer. But here's the thing. If you don't implement a sales methodology that actually helps you get to this point, it's actually costing you the difference between a 25% and a 40% closing ratio. So in this example, it's actually costing you the net difference, which is $750K in lost revenue and $75K in lost profit. And if you're a salesperson who gets paid on closed deals, let's say if you get 10% off revenue, that's $75K in lost commissions as a result. And it doesn't include what you can do with the money you actually earned. So here's the thing. Being more profitable is a result of being more effective and efficient. Next, you have far more flexibility in your process and it feels more natural. I've tested all types of methodologies out there under the sun. I've read thousands of books. I have bought thousands of courses. I have watched crazy amount of YouTube videos, and I've also spoken and worked with literally 1,000 reps over the years. And I have found most people have a bias towards methodologies because they feel it's inauthentic and just overly scripted as a result, okay? Again, this is the process we're seeing here. It's very common across the board. Obviously, yours might have some variations, but it's very similar across the board. The powerful framework is designed with flexibility in mind and allows you to move in and out of the process depending on the buying process and the prospect, while allowing you to authentically and systematically uncover things you need to build trust, create urgency, and move the process forward. That's why it looks a little more complex here, but it allows you far more flexibility in your overall process. But this is actually why reps like Joe here, you can see here, use the methodology as it's systematically eliminating objections and leads the process getting cut in half quickly. So for example here, he works for a major, huge software company, and they have all these scripts and templates and frameworks, and we took a look at even his inbound call script, which again, pretty much followed this type of process, and we revamped it and revised it. And because you can see what he's saying here, like he took what we revised to model it after the powerful framework, and because of that, the flow transition was far better. He kept it way more business case data as well, so it was absolutely incredible. And he feels good about doing the process, which is amazing. So ultimately, Joe felt better about the process, which is so important because at the end of the day, a great salesperson, they just want to excel and do a great job without feeling weird or sleazy or doing things against their own values. Next, it gives you and your team a uniform and clear, consistent strategy for every sales opportunity. I remember going on calls with different reps earlier, like all types, good, bad, and everything in between. And what shocked me was everybody had just a different process, different sales system or methodology, whether they realized it or not. Like basically, they're just winging it, okay? They're winging it. If they were performing, if they were like a really great rep, they couldn't explain to me what they were doing. Like I'll ask, what are you doing specifically? What's your process like? How are you doing this? They would just tell me, Marcus, you just got to work hard. You got to play the numbers game. You got to be patient. Pretty useless, especially if you're trying to figure out sales and have success in sales, all right? So once I figured out some of the earlier forms of the powerful methodology, I started teaching it to my peers, and eventually the team when I got promoted. But the best part, success became predictable as everyone spoke the same language and actually the same process. And below is actually an example of even internally of how I've taken it to customize for my own business to make it systematic in how we actually run the process. But here's what's really interesting and cool. New hires are ramped up, got productive 50% faster than the rest of my peers' teams as well. Like our team actually became known as like a success factory, if you will, as like new hires would come out and they come out like rock stars. And if they went through a system methodology and they were not doing great, especially with coaching, it became really clear, me personally, I had made a bad decision, maybe making a bad hire, so I can handle that accordingly now, right? And instead of burning cash on the base salary benefits, I can make the decisions that are required for business. Next, you can utilize a framework to improve your opportunity qualification. So having a really clear, consistent definition of what a qualified opportunity is key to having pipeline hygiene. Like when this is unclear, like the reps or you end up spinning their wheels or your wheels on unqualified opportunities versus spending focus time on the right opportunities that will actually close. When you're using the powerful methodology, if you're missing any of the elements that we discussed, that should be at a level 10, it becomes crystal clear the deals may not be as qualified as you actually thought. So some teams will even create custom fields in their CRM for the teams to fill out to improve the qualification process and improve their overall process. Or some will use a really simple tool like this below to quickly rate each part in the opportunity, which you can see how you can rate from 1 to 10. Next, you can also de-risk your deals proactively. So you ever have a deal that you thought was going to close by like quarter end or month end, but then you get surprised at the end that's getting stalled or pushed out? I know it's happened to me for sure. And the reality is many of the situations can be anticipated by using the powerful methodology, engaging your deal against it. It's using tools like above I just showed you, or like our 7-figure blueprint tool is based on a powerful methodology that helps you identify pink red flags early so you can take the right actions to actually solve the problem. So you can see there's an example right here, but this allows you to identify those things so you can de-risk your situation by taking better next steps. What I have found is most deals are not lost because of one mistake or one single missing data point. It's usually several things. So when you're using a consistent sales methodology like the powerful system, this allows you to systematically look at and de-risk it as fast as possible in taking the right actions. For instance, Josh is a sales professional who had been working actually with a different sales coach, and he actually he just had not closed anything in literally over 6 months, and he had these deals that are popping in his pipeline. They're not really going anywhere. But because when I started working with them, we were able to dive into some of those deals. This is like literally within a couple of weeks, literally just diving into a situation and be able to identify what key components he's missing and guide him next steps to actually take and implement the framework. He's able to actually move deals forward faster, like this deal closed for 67K, then another one for 76K within a couple of weeks. Fast forward even a few weeks later, he was able to even close another 122K deals. Literally over $300,000 closed in a few short weeks, when before that, he's basically at zero. So this is what is powerful, no pun intended, of the powerful framework. It allows you to identify these opportunities to actually move them forward faster based on how you actually run the process leading up to that point. Next, improved revenue forecast. Now, I remember giving my sales manager my forecast. It was literally just a guess. It was like throwing a dart at the dart, like, I hope this happens. The reality was I had no idea my risk level, my deals. So winning them was basically a gamble. So which meant my forecast was a gamble. And reality is that makes my boss look bad when he needs to roll up as well. Now, here's what's really scary. I talk to salespeople all the time, and unfortunately, it hasn't really changed that much. That's just the reality. But because now we're able to identify exactly what's a real viable opportunity, what's not, we're able to actually improve our forecasting accuracy. So this predictability is really important because it allows for better earnings management for salespeople, but also for CEOs and sales leaders. You can manage the revenue cash flow far better when you know what's actually coming into the bank. Let me give you an example. Here's Sylvain here. He's actually out in France here. Now he sells a little bit smaller deals, but because we're able to implement methodology, he went from missing his number to literally a 93% attainment in 2 months, right? With a whole another month to go, and with the very small amount he actually had to close, right? Now, on top of that, his sales cycle drastically cut down as well. So he went from a 4 to 5 month sales cycle, even for smaller deals, to less than a month as a result, right? Now, his average went down a little bit, right? But he closed more deals. But what was important was because we're able to actually de-risk those pipelines you mentioned below, we're able to identify what's a real viable opportunity and how to actually add more deals now of larger size running that proper framework. Next, you'll be ahead of the curve with a major competitive advantage in the marketplace. According to Forbes, 55% of salespeople lack the basic sales skills and fundamentals of effectively running a great sales process. Think about it. This is in an environment where it's harder to sell than ever, where prospects do not trust salespeople, and skepticism is higher than it's ever been. And on top of that, they expect far more than ever as a result. So by implementing the powerful methodology, you'll be leaps and bounds ahead of the competition, even if they have a better or cheaper product. As a salesperson, that means you'll win far more deals and earn far more. And if you're a CEO or leader, that means your team is now positioned for success in the future. But here's the key. The key is to do it now while it's still a blue ocean before everyone else catches on. So if you're ready to jump on this one-of-a-kind opportunity, I highly recommend you do not hesitate and book a call below to speak to my team now. We're looking for a beta group of founders, sales team, and B2B sales professionals who want to work with us one-on-one to build the powerful framework into their sales process in the next few weeks. Now, there is no hard sell because obviously that doesn't really work anyways. We only want to work with people who see the value in this new sales system and want to be the first to leverage this for the product or service they're actually selling. So go ahead and book a call below now. And again, there's zero risk to you. Is an call to discuss how we can customize a powerful framework to your industry, to your product, and even to you. Now, if you're interested, if you still have some questions about the powerful framework, let's actually discuss that next. You might be thinking, hey, will this work for my industry or prospect type? So this is whether you are in tech sales, med device, IT services, consulting, waste management, payroll, cloud, whatever industry you're selling. Whether you sell to CIOs, CFO, CTO, CRO, CEO, CXO, CHC, whatever, or VP engineering, chief people, purchasing manager, doesn't matter. Whatever you sell at, whatever product you sell to. What's the common theme amongst all of that? It's simple. They are human beings with the same brain wiring has been put in place for over 1 million years. Like you can literally see this graph that I pulled from the Smithsonian that shows the changes from the time from 3 million years to today. So you can see obviously 3 million to 1 million to today. There's some changes, but listen, over 1 million years ago, it hasn't really changed. Whether we like it or not, we operate off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, if you're not familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's basically this, right? Which is at the very base need, we need our physiological needs taken care of, then safety needs, then love and belonging, and then esteem and self-actualization. And reality is your prospects, wherever they sell, whatever they do, whatever industry they are in, they also have these core fundamentals that they want, whether it's personally or professionally. So remember, just like you were not born out of the womb to be a salesperson or a founder or a sales leader, neither are your prospects, okay? Like I wasn't born out of the womb to be a salesperson or a sales coach or a sales trainer or a sales leader. That's just not how it works. This is why the powerful methodology is based on human behavior and sits in the middle intersection of the psychology, strategy, tactics, right in the perfect center. These are timeless strategies, and that's why the core foundation has been so effective in all aspects of my career and for all the clients I've implemented this with. This is why we literally have dozens of live interviews and over 1,000 documented client wins from all our clients in dozens of industries selling to hundreds of products and services. So for instance here, you can see that we document everything, and you can see here we literally have thousands of wins across the board of different types of roles and different types of industries, as you can see on right here, different industries that they're selling into. But it's crazy how much we have across the board. Sorry, it's not loading, kind of funny, but it's loading up though. So I'll give you an example here. You can see Joe Kivlin here, literally just shared a major win called largest deal in company history, 9 close to the second largest, almost 10x larger, right? Looking at 600K commissions in early stages and more like making millions of dollars, right? Literally has a train's worth every single penny. Or Travis here, who hit 300% to quote, is number 1 out of 100 salespeople. You get my point. Next, you might be asking yourself, do I need to change my entire style to fit this methodology, especially if I have one already, or my company has one in place already? It depends, obviously, right? If your current methodology is delivering subpar results, does it make sense to keep doing the same thing over and over, hoping for different results? The reality is, depending on your sales process, it might just be some easy tweaks to get you on the right track. Here's the thing. If your process is like a complete dumpster fire, okay, I'll be direct. It'll probably take some adapting to do. Like literally, if it was as easy as just screenshotting the framework and implementing it, then everybody and the mother would do it, and it wouldn't actually be valuable. That's why we'll work with you step by step to build a system so it flows naturally, so it feels good for you, so you can actually maintain your authenticity. It's a mixture of science and an art. And once with the baseline down, it's far easier to evolve over time with repetition as well. The powerful methodology requires an upfront investment, but literally pays dividends for years, as you saw in Joe's example. Next, you might be asking, can I just keep doing what I'm doing? If you and your team are already crushing it, keep rocking and rolling. I freaking love that. Like maybe you and your team are already closing maybe 40, 50%, okay? That's disco close. Now here's the really cool part. Chances are good you're doing a lot of things right, okay? Which makes integrating the powerful framework even easier and more effective. Like the professionals who are already at the top of their game in any field, right? If they're already top 10%, to get to the top 1%, it's rarely one big tweak. It's usually a series of small tweaks compounded that leads to insane results. So for instance here, Wes below, I'm going to show you in a second, has always been a solid top rep. Like he had a really solid closing ratio, okay? But literally that went up to 100%, okay, at his peak. But more importantly, he's closing bigger deals faster. So he literally closed $2.5 million on a $1 million quote. You can see right here, PS, my closing rate over the last 2 months have been 100%, okay? This is the power of the powerful methodology applied to already solid sales skills as exponential gains when the foundation is already strong. And of course, if it's applied to your entire sales team, it drives predictable growth, improves efficiency, and enhances the performance of the entire sales team, raising your revenue per employee, okay? Which also leads to increases in cash flow, increases in profitability, and ultimately leads to the overall success of the company. And on top of that, for your buyers and your customers, it creates a far superior experience for them, which obviously increases your chances for upsells, increasing lifetime value, and renewals. But on top of that, this leads to happier sales professionals who actually feel good selling something they care about and genuinely taking care of their customers. Turnover goes down as reps crush it, and then they make the money they actually want to make while you're building actually world-class culture, even in the toughest times. It's why Dave, one of my clients, says the new sales principles that we practice as a team not only allowed us to survive through COVID, but to thrive. After 8 months, we are 300% to sales goal with the highest retention rate for new sales I've ever experienced. Think about how powerful this is. This is in some of the early iterations of the powerful methodology getting implemented for Dave's sales team. These results are no joke, and ultimately, it's more revenue, more profit, and less stress. So with that being said, I'd like to formally invite you to book a call with my team below, and we'll discuss how we can install the powerful methodology into your sales process today. Now, we're only looking to work with a handful of founders, sales teams, and sales professionals who are in direct B2B sales and understand how incredible the powerful methodology is for predictably closing at over 40% without sleazy sales tactics so you can hit and exceed your sales targets. For the rest of this video, I'm going to explain how the process works, how quickly you can start seeing results, and what you get by working with us. First, I cannot overemphasize this enough. It's not just one thing that makes a powerful methodology actually work. It's not just memorizing a sales script, writing out a list of questions. It's a system. Each component works hand in hand with each other like a recipe in the kitchen where each ingredient contributes to the taste and texture of the dish. If you forget one ingredient, it can change the flavor entirely and lead to an unknown result. Now, you and your team could definitely trial and error your way to try to figure it out, but it would easily take over 50 plus live sales calls to try to figure it out, which will literally cost you in the stalled or lost deals. And by the way, it's taken me literally over a decade to refine this, and I hit and exceeded my quota 13 years in a row while working to improve this. But maybe you're special and you'll figure it out far sooner than it took me. Now, the reality is this is my life's work, okay? I've taken the complexity of sales and all the failed methodologies to distill down to a system that is repeatable and scalable across dozens of industries. And it's proven not just by my teams and also me, but by thousands of sales pros across the world. After running over 10,000 live discovery calls on my own, losing thousands of deals, and working with hundreds of clients, we've literally distilled down to an exact science. So here's how it works at a very high level. Number one, we'll help you install the proven sales fundamentals into you or your sales team and make them recession proof for every part of the sales process from prospecting through close using the powerful methodology. This is the same proven system that has generated close to literally $2 billion in sales for my teams and my clients all in. Number two, we'll identify and coach the exact constraints in you or your sales team's sales process. Within days of working, we'll review call recordings and assets to identify the biggest gaps to fix and meet that will yield the fastest results. This will give your team and you the exact areas to adjust to move deals forward to close faster so you actually hit and exceed your sales targets. Number three, will help you systemize results. So now we've covered the biggest areas to improve. We'll start implementing systems, tools, habits, routines that lead to predictable results year after year. And because we've literally seen hundreds of sales processes and reviewed thousands of calls, like we are far better than anyone else in this industry. We've been able to virtually guarantee success because we've developed a systematic way like I've shown you. So I want you to imagine this. Imagine you and your sales team have deals that are stalled out, okay? And if you're doing this on your own, you either just try to keep following up or offer a discount close or do some weird, goofy thing to try to get to close, okay? Either way, it's a gamble, as we know, okay? But if you're working with us, instead of being stressed, you get help from my team and I to help guide you exactly what to do next to move it forward in the process. You and your team will get clear direction, guidance, and support on this journey, as literally our number one goal is to help you succeed and raise the game of sales. No more shooting in the dark on sales calls, hoping it'll close. No more up and down roller coaster of results. And here's the best part. There's no additional cost level of support. There's no equity to give up and no revenue share to split. But here's the catch. Because of the high touch and level of support we provide, we can only work with a certain number of new clients each month. Again, we're only working with founders, sales team, and sales professionals who are in direct B2B sales, selling a product or service that has a minimum 5K ARR. So if that's you, I'd like to invite you to go below this video and book a call with my team to learn about how we can help you install the powerful methodology into your sales process today. You'll be asked a few questions on a short form that allows my team to prepare for your call to show you next steps in implementing our battle-tested, proven system. And after you book the call, we'll send you a few resources with FAQs, literally thousands of case studies and client wins, proving the powerful framework works. So if you're tired of your team or you closing at substandard range, tired of losing deals, and you're not operating your full potential, go below this video and book your call now. We have limited capacity for new clients each month, so do not wait. Book your call below, and we can go in depth with you on what the powerful methodology will look like for your sales process today.